unlock your world one word at a time, because language isn't just about learning, it's about living. Let's get started. Wonderful listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Languages Pedagogy Podcast, where we explore how to unlock your full potential as a language learner. Today, we're diving deep into a challenge many of you have shared with me. Can I truly immerse myself in a language without traveling? For years, the idea of immersion has been tied to moving to a foreign country. It's the dream, right? Living in Paris to learn French, or spending a year in Tokyo to perfect your Japanese. But what if that's not an option for you? Maybe you're tied to work, school, or family responsibilities. Or maybe the cost of travel is simply out of reach right now. Here's the good news. You don't need a plane ticket to immerse yourself in a language. Immersion isn't about geography. It's about surrounding yourself with a language in meaningful ways. It's about creating opportunities for exposure, interaction, and engagement right where you are. In this extended episode, we're going to explore, first, why immersion is such a powerful learning tool. Second, how you can turn your home into a language learning haven. Third, ways to engage with your local community for real practice. Fourth, the technology that brings native speakers and authentic scenarios to your fingertips. Fifth, and finally, how to overcome the common challenges of home immersion, like staying motivated or avoiding burnout. By the end of this episode, you'll have all the tools you need to create a language-rich environment and accelerate your fluency. No passport required. Let's get started.
Audio Jungle.
So let's start with the big question. Why does immersion work so well for language learning? To answer that, we need to look at the brain. Immersion taps into how our brains are wired to learn, process, and retain information. First, how immersion mirrors first language acquisition. Think about how babies learn their first language. They're not given textbooks, flashcards, or grammar drills. Instead, they're surrounded by language 24/7. Babies hear words in context. Here's your bottle. Do you want to play? And they experiment with sounds until they form words and sentences. Why this matters for adults? Immersion works because it recreates this natural learning process. You're constantly exposed to words and phrases in context, which helps you absorb grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation effortlessly. For example, imagine hearing the phrase, "pass me the salt," while sitting at dinner. Even if you don't know the word salt, the visual and situational context gives you clues. Over time, you internalize both the vocabulary and a sentence structure. 2. Context makes language stick. Words are easier to remember when they are tied to specific experiences. Let's say you're learning Spanish. If someone says, "quiero agua," which means "I want water," while handing you a glass, the association between the phrase and the action strengthens your memory. So why flashcards alone aren't enough? While flashcards can help with rote memorization, they don't provide the situational depth that real-life context offers. Immersion fills that gap by making words meaningful. Third, emotional engagement enhances retention. Studies show that we're more likely to remember things that evoke strong emotions, whether it's laughter, curiosity, or even frustration. Immersion immerses you emotionally. Laughing at a joke in your target language, feeling satisfaction when you successfully order a meal, experiencing mild confusion as you decode a new phrase, but then the joy when it clicks. For example, watching a comedy in your target language teaches you colloquial expressions because humor engages your brain more deeply than rote repetition. 4. Immersion builds intuitive grammar knowledge. Traditional learning often focuses on explicit grammar rules. This is how you conjugate the verb. For example, in immersion, you pick up grammar naturally through repeated exposure. For example, in English, we instinctively know how to say big red balloon instead of red big balloon. Immersion in another language helps you develop similar instinct for its word order and grammar rules. Fifth, cultural awareness completes the picture. Language isn't just about words, it's about culture too. For example, in Japanese, the phrase itadakimasu before a meal reflects gratitude, and understanding this enhances your communication. Immersion introduces you to these nuances. So, immersion works because it engages your brain, emotions, and intuition. But how can you create this experience without traveling? That's what we'll explore next. Your home is more than just a place to relax. It can become the perfect environment for language immersion. Let me show you how. First, start with your digital environment. Your phone and computer are powerful tools for immersion if you tweak them. Change your phone's settings to your target language. Subscribe to YouTube channels, TikTok creators, and Instagram influencers in your target language. For example, if you're learning French, follow cooking tutorials by French chefs. Here's a pro tip. Set aside 30 minutes daily to scroll only in your target language. This makes your downtime productive. 2. Label everything around you. Labeling your surroundings is a classic but effective technique. Use sticky notes for objects like the refrigerator, mirror, or coffee mug. Add sentences. I drink coffee from this mug. Why this works? Constant exposure to these words helps you internalize vocabulary without conscious effort. Third, immerse through entertainment. Replace your usual shows and music with content in your target language. TV shows, for example, start with subtitles in your native language, then switch to subtitles in your target language. Finally, try watching without subtitles. Music. Create theme playlist and sing along to improve pronunciation. Here's an example. If you're learning Spanish, watch La Casa de Papel or Money Heist. The drama and fast pace make it engaging, while the dialogue helps you pick up conversational phrases. While transforming your home into a language learning hub is powerful, stepping into your local community can take your immersion to the next level. Many of us don't realize the rich opportunities around us to engage with our target language in authentic, meaningful ways. Let's explore how your community can become a classroom filled with real-life practice. First, finding language groups and meetups. In most cities, you'll find communities that share your passion for language learning. These groups are often filled with native speakers, eager to connect and share their language. Where to start? Use platforms like Meetup, Eventbrite, or local Facebook groups to search for language exchanges or cultural events. Example: look for Spanish conversation nights, French book clubs, or even general language exchange groups. How to participate? Start with casual events where the focus is on conversation, not perfection. These environments are typically supportive as everyone is learning. Prepare beforehand. Write down a few key phrases or questions to use during the meetup. For example, for a Spanish meetup, prepare phrases like ¿Cómo aprendiste español? How did you learn Spanish? Or ¿Qué me recomiendas para mejorar mi pronunciación? What do you recommend to improve my pronunciation? One of our listeners, Emma, joined a German conversation group at a local library. She was nervous at first, but the informal setting allowed her to practice phrases she'd been studying at home. Over time, her confidence grew and she made friends who motivated her to keep learning. This is a really interesting story that happened to one of my students. 2. Exploring cultural businesses. Local businesses can be treasure troves for immersion. Restaurants, grocery stores, and markets run by native speakers of your target language offer authentic opportunities for interaction. And here's a practical tip. Visit a restaurant serving cuisine from your target language country and practice ordering in that language. For example, at a Japanese restaurant, try ordering in Japanese. For example, sumimasen, sushi, or futatsu, onegashimasu. It's like, excuse me, 2 sushi please. Another one, engage with shopkeepers or market vendors in ethnic grocery stores. Ask about ingredients or recipes. For example, in a Middle Eastern market, ask, how do I use za'atar in cooking? Why this works? These real-life scenarios mimic the immersion you'd experience abroad, but in a low-pressure, localized setting. 3rd, volunteering for cultural events. Volunteering is a fantastic way to connect with native speakers while contributing to your community. Cultural festivals, international fairs, and events hosted by cultural organizations often need volunteers. For example, volunteer at a Chinese New Year celebration and practice Mandarin greetings like 新年快乐, which is Happy New Year. Help at a French film festival and use conversational French with attendees and organizers. And here's a pro tip. Don't just stick to your role as a volunteer. Use downtime to ask questions and learn more about the culture and language. 4. Building your own community. If you can't find a group that fits your needs, why not start one? How to start a group? Use platforms like WhatsApp or Facebook groups to invite fellow learners or native speakers in your area. Plan simple activities like language themes, potlucks, where everyone brings a dish and shares its story in the target language. And here's another story from one of my students. One of my listeners and student, she started actually a Korean drama night with friends learning Korean. They watched episodes together, paused to discuss phrases, and practice reenacting scenes in Korean. In today's digital age, technology makes it easier than ever to bring the world to your fingertips. From virtual exchanges to immersive apps, let's explore the tools that can turn your screen into a gateway for language learning. First, virtual language exchanges. I've actually talked to you about these apps many times already, just like HelloTalk, Tandem, and Speaky, or some other website. These type of apps or websites connect you with native speakers worldwide for text, audio, or video chats. Create a profile highlighting your interests and goals. Reach out to native speakers learning your language and propose a language exchange. 30 minutes in your target language and 30 minutes in theirs. Here's some tips. Prepare topics or questions to keep the conversation flowing. For example, ask about their favorite hobbies, holiday traditions, or travel experiences. Don't fear mistakes. Most language partners appreciate your effort and will gently correct you. And here's another example for one of my students. My student Carlos used Hello Talk to connect with a French speaker. They discussed movies and music, and their chats quickly became the highlight of Carlos' week. Great experience there with my student. Second, VR for language learning. VR apps like Monthly VR and Immerse simulate real-world scenarios, allowing you to practice speaking in environments like cafes, airports, and hotels. Why this works? VR offers immersive, low-pressure practice that feels like being abroad. You can repeat scenarios multiple times to build confidence. For example, practice ordering food in a virtual French cafe, where the waiter responds to your request and offers corrections. Third, AI tools for personalized practice. Artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT offers endless opportunities for practice. What you can do: simulate real-life conversations. Ask the AI to role-play scenarios like checking into a hotel or attending a job interview. Request grammar explanations, vocabulary list, or writing prompts. Tailor to your level. Here's an activity. Type, pretend you're a shopkeeper in Spain and I'm buying fruit from your market. Let's have a conversation. This is a very good prompt that you can actually use it with this AI. 4. Gamify apps for consistency. Gamification makes language learning fun and addictive. Apps like Duolingo, Memrise, and Closemaster reward you for completing lessons, maintaining streaks, and leveling up. And here's a pro tip. Set aside 15 minutes daily for app-based practice. Use Gamify apps for vocabulary and supplementary tools like VR or AI for speaking. Creating an immersive environment without traveling isn't without its challenges. Let's tackle these head-on with practical solutions. Combating loneliness. Learning alone can feel isolating, especially if you don't have native speakers around. What can you do? Schedule regular virtual chats with language partners or join online communities like Reddit's. Share milestones on social media. Celebrating progress helps you feel connected. 2. Staying consistent. Consistency is key, but it can be hard to sustain daily practice. Tie language learning to existing habits. For example, listen to a podcast while commuting. Narrate your daily routine aloud in your target language. Use a planner or app to set weekly goals and track progress. Third, avoiding burnout. Immersion can feel overwhelming if you try to do too much too soon. Alternate between intensive and light days. For example, spend one day reviewing vocabulary and the next watching a fun show in your target language. To wrap up, immersion is more than a place, it's a mindset. By transforming your home, engaging with your community, and leveraging technology, you can create a rich language learning environment no matter where you live. And before we head into the next part, I just want to remind you that new episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So make sure to tune in weekly for your dose of thought-provoking conversations. You can find our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And you can also pay a visit to our website, MikeEnglishOnline.com, where you can find lots of materials, resources for your daily learning. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and follow us for more. And well, here we are, we just got to the end. But remember, the key to immersion is exposure, consistency, and curiosity. Every step you take brings you closer to fluency. Until next time, stay curious and keep immersing yourself in the beauty of language.